Good morning, friends. Today is Friday, May 1st. It's the first day of May. Um, and welcome to Read Aloud. I hope you are all wearing your favorite outfits today. This is my favorite sweatshirt. It's nice and cozy. And as always, if you want to share your favorite outfit, feel free to send a picture to your teacher. All right, so today we are going to read a short story. So the story won't be as long as the stories that we usually read. And I'm going to tell you right now that the genre is fiction. Usually, when we read fiction stories, they're pretty long. But today, this one is only about a couple pages, which means that it's going to look a little different today. So the first thing I'm going to do is read the whole thing without stopping. And then we're going to go through and answer the questions. Now, where you can find the questions, we're going to go over here to the distance learning materials, go to first grade, go to read aloud, April 27th to May 1st, Friday, May 1st, and boom, there it is. We've got the fire, which is the name of the story, and then the questions that you're going to answer and the exit ticket. All right, so like I said, I'm going to read the whole thing through once, and then we're going to read through it again and answer the questions. All right, so this is called The Fire, excerpted from A Chair for My Mother by Vera B. Williams. So when this says excerpted from A Chair for My Mother, that means that A Chair for My Mother is the book where this story comes from. This is just a shorter version of that story, and I think you might actually read this in second grade. So we're going to have a little sneak peek of it now, and you'll read the entire thing next year. So let's get started. The Fire. My mother and I were coming home from buying new shoes. I had new sandals, she had new pumps. We were walking to our house from the bus. We were looking at everyone's tulips. She was saying she liked red tulips, and I was saying I liked yellow ones. Then we came to our block. Right outside our house stood two big fire engines. I could see lots of smoke. Tall orange flames came out of the roof. All the neighbors stood in a bunch across the street. Mamma grabbed my hand and we ran. My Uncle Sandy saw us and ran to us. Mamma yelled, "Where's mother?" I yelled, "Where's my grandma?" My Aunt Ida waved and shouted, she's here, she's okay, don't worry." Grandma was all right. Our cat was safe too, though it took a while to find her. But everything else in our whole house was spoiled. What was left of the house was turned to charcoal and ashes. We went to stay with my mother's sister, Aunt Ida, and Uncle Sandy. Then we were able to move into the apartment downstairs. We painted the walls yellow. The floors were all shiny, but the rooms were very empty. The first day we moved in, the neighbors brought pizza and cake and ice cream, and they brought a lot of other things too. The family across the street brought a table and three kitchen chairs. The very old man next door gave us a bed from when his children were little. My other grandpa brought us his beautiful rug. My mother's other sister, Sally, had made us red and white curtains. Mama's boss, Josephine, brought pots and pans, silverware, and dishes. My cousin brought me her own stuffed bear. Everyone clapped when my grandma made a speech. "You are all the kindest people," she said, "and we thank you very, very much. It's lucky we're young and can start all over." All right, so we just read through the whole thing. That was the entire story, which means that we have lots and lots of time to go through these questions. So the first question that we ask ourselves when we read a fiction story is, who is the main character? So I'm going to read this first paragraph and we'll figure out who the main character is. My mother and I were coming home from buying new shoes. I had new sandals, she had new pumps. We were walking to our house from the bus. We were looking at everyone's tulips. She was saying she liked red tulips, and I was saying I liked yellow ones. Then we came to our block. So, when we see in the story that the narrator is telling the story, that means that we see words like my and I. And we, that means that the narrator is the main character. So when it says who is the main character, you're going to write down the narrator. Now we don't know the gender of the narrator. We don't know if it's a little boy or a little girl, but we do know that it is a child because they're walking with their mother. So you can either write down that the main character is the narrator of the story, or the main character is the child. Now you're going to think about what we know about the main character so far. So take about 30 seconds, look through this paragraph right here, this first paragraph, and write down what we know about the main character so far. Go ahead. All right, so what do we know about the main character? Um, when we read the entire story, we learn a lot about the main character, but right at the beginning, um, gives us a little background information about the main character, which is exactly what we want to learn. We want to know the background knowledge about the main character, the knowledge that we need to go into this story. So, what we know about the main character, she was going shopping with her mom for new sandals, and her mom needed new pumps, which are another kind of shoe. Um, and they were taking the bus home. So, they were also looking at tulips, but tulips aren't really an important part of the story, so we're not going to include that. So, when we're answering the question, what do we know about the main character? We know that the main character was out with their mom shopping for new shoes, and they were coming home. They were walking home from the bus. So, again, when we are talking about what do we know about the main character, we know that the main character was out shopping with their mom, and they are coming home from the bus. All right, so the next question is, who are some other important characters? Now we can still just use this first paragraph right here because we've got the main character in here and then the other important character. So take a look at this first paragraph again and write down who the other important character is. Go ahead. All right, so let's read this first paragraph again to figure out who the other important character is. My mother and I were coming home from buying new shoes. I had new sandals, she had new pumps. We were walking to our house from the bus. We were looking at everyone's tulips. She was saying she liked red tulips, and I was saying I like yellow ones. Then we came to our block. So the only other character in this first paragraph is the child's mother. So who are the other important characters? The other important character, just the one, is the child's mother. Now we can go on to the next question, which is what is the setting? So now we're going to look at the first two paragraphs because that gives us all of the information we need to know. We're just going to scooch this up so we can get more in here. All right, so the first two paragraphs are on the screen. I want you to read through those and see if you can figure out what the setting of the story is. Go ahead. All right, so when we are looking at the first couple of paragraphs, we see that the mother and the child are walking home from buying new shoes. So they're walking around in their neighborhood and they see outside of their house there are two big fire engines and that their house is on fire. So that is also happening in their neighborhood. Um, we can also see that all the neighbors stood in a bunch across the street. So there are the people who live in the main character's neighborhood are their neighbors. So that's another clue to tell us that the setting is the child's neighborhood. So the setting of this story is the child's neighborhood. All right, the next question is what is the problem of this story? Now, I think that the problem is kind of obvious, but I'm going to give you a little bit to reread part of the story and figure out what the problem is. Again, you'll find the problem right here. Go ahead. All right, so we're going to find the problem in the second paragraph here. So I'll read it again and see if you can spot the problem. Right outside our house stood two big fire engines. I could see lots of smoke. Tall orange flames came out of the roof. All the neighbors stood in a bunch across the street. Mama grabbed my hand and we ran. My Uncle Sandy saw us and ran to us. Mama yelled, "Where's mother?" I yelled, "Where's my grandma?" My Aunt Ida waved and shouted, she's here, she's okay, don't worry." Grandma was all right. Our cat was safe too, though it took a while to find her. But everything else in our whole house was spoiled. What was left of the house was turned to charcoal and ashes. All right, so what was the problem of the story? The problem of the story was that the main character's house was on fire, and that the whole house and everything in it was destroyed. So the problem of the story is that the house was on fire, and the fire destroyed the entire house and everything in it. Now we're going to scroll down to the second half of the story. Let's see. There we go. All right, the next question is what is the solution of the story? Remember, when we think about the solution, we think how was the problem solved? So the problem was is that the house was destroyed from a fire. The house and everything in it was destroyed. So the main character and their mom didn't have anything. They just had the shoes that they bought, and that's it. So let's read the last two paragraphs of the story and see if we can figure out the solution. We went to stay with my mother's sister, Aunt Ida, and Uncle Sandy. Then we were able to move into the apartment downstairs. We painted the walls yellow. The floors were all shiny, but the rooms were very empty. The first day we moved in, the neighbors brought pizza and cake and ice cream, and they brought a lot of other things too. The family across the street brought a table and three kitchen chairs. The very old man next door gave us a bed from when his children were little. My other grandpa brought us his beautiful rug. My mother's other sister, Sally, had made us red and white curtains. Mama's boss, Josephine, brought pots and pans, silverware, and dishes. My cousin brought me her own stuffed bear. Everyone clapped when my grandma made a speech. "You are all the kindest people," she said, "and we thank you very, very much. It's lucky we're young and can start all over." All right, so remember, the problem was that the fire destroyed the main character's house and everything inside of it. So what is look through these let's see if we can fix this here. Everything is on one page. Awesome. So now you're going to look through these two paragraphs here and see if you can figure out what the solution to the problem was. Go ahead. All right, so remember, the problem of the story was that the fire destroyed the main character's home and everything in it. So the solution is in these two last paragraphs. Um, so up here, it says that they went to stay with Aunt Ida and Uncle Sandy. So that's part of the solution is that they had someplace else to stay. Um, the other part of the solution is that all of the neighbors and people that they knew brought over furniture and things that the main character and their mom and grandma needed to live in the new apartment that they moved into. So the solution of the story is that their family and friends all helped them move into a new apartment with new things. So again, the solution is that the main character's friends and family help them to move into a new apartment with new things that they need. Now, the last question before we move on to the exit ticket is what is the lesson learned? So look at these last two paragraphs again, because remember the lesson learned comes at the end, and see if you can figure out what the lesson learned is. Go ahead. All right, so at the beginning of the story, the main character and their mom are coming home from going shopping, and they saw that their house was on fire, and the fire destroyed everything. The fire destroyed the entire house and everything in it. But luckily, the grandma and the cat were safe. Um, so that was the problem of the story, that everything was destroyed. But the solution was that the main character's friends and family all pitched in and helped them move into a new apartment with new things. So the lesson learned in this story is that even if really terrible, terrible things happen, like a house burning down and you losing all of your things, there will always be people there to help you get by, just like the friends and family of the main character. So no matter how horrible something is, um, there will always be people there to help. All right, now we're going to move on to the exit ticket. So the exit ticket today is a retell. So you can either write it down on lined paper or you can record a voice recording on Seesaw. But no matter how you do it, you got to make sure that you include all of the story elements and that they're in the right order. So remember, at the beginning, you need to include your characters, your setting, and 2 to 3 key details. In the middle, you need your problem, and 2 to 3 key details. And at the end, you need the solution, the lesson learned, and 2 to 3 key details. So you're not going to say what the lesson learned is at the beginning of the story, because that belongs at the end. Because you don't know the lesson learned before you know the characters. That doesn't make any sense. So make sure that you're including the story elements and the details in the right order and that you've included all of the story elements. All right, my friends, awesome work today. Remember, um, you need to be writing in complete sentences and doing your very best work. Um, the secret symbol for today, I almost forgot about the secret symbol, but the secret symbol today is a star. You can draw a star at top of your paper. Um, I know that a star is tricky to draw, but just try your best. Or you can write the word star at the top of your paper. So to make sure that we know that you're watching the videos, you're going to write the word star or draw a star at the top of your paper on your exit ticket. and then upload it to Seesaw. Um, if you record your exit ticket, just say the word star either at the beginning or the end of your recording. All right, my friends, have an awesome rest of your day, an awesome weekend, and I will see you on Monday.